Oh, god damn it, Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. God damn it, Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. They got me again. They did it. They did the thing they like to do in this show, where they present you with something dumb, or silly, or nonsensical, and you just write it off as a joke. Because this is supposed to be the bad Yu-Gi-Oh! Remember? That's what everyone said when we saw those pictures. This was supposed to be the dumb one, and that they weren't trying, and that they gave up. Yet somehow, they constantly will set all this shit up, trick you into thinking they've done nothing, and then throw it into a bigger, interpersonal, fairly complex narrative. And I don't get it. I don't know why this show does it, or how it does it. Like, even if you think it's silly and nonsense, and you don't like that the stakes are so little, and you'd like something a little more in line with that you could get more invested in, which I understand that, you gotta give credit where credit is due. This is a very complex show. It's shockingly. So, I am talking, of course, about two things. The first of which involves the ED, the new ending theme, which I didn't talk about last week just because I kind of forgot because we were kind of running long. But essentially, the new ending theme, when I first heard it, I kind of thought of it like this. I love the song. It's not your standard J-rock or J-pop. Don't get me wrong, I obviously love the Yu-Gi-Oh! OPs and EDs and their J-rock and pop stuff, but this is a different kind of song, and it's kind of refreshing, and it's fun, and I like the lyrics. As for the visuals, however, I thought kind of whatever at first. It's just kind of the robot, like, doing calisthenics, and I thought, okay, those are the goofy images that will be replaced with other stuff as the episodes go by, like we did with the last ED. And, oh yeah, and also after that, it's just kind of like pictures of all the cast. However, things then go in a much different direction this week. Turns out, that was your hint for the plot. That was your foreshadowing. No, that's not foreshadowing. That's them literally telling you what is gonna happen. But instead of, like, hinting at it, they show it at you, but they present it in a way that your brain is gonna register it as, oh, it's just a joke. Like, you're not going to look at that and think it's a plot point. You're not going to think that. You're just going to watch the robot stretch, think it's funny because it's an ending theme, and write it off. But then when you watch this week's episode and you see that that is actually what's going on, you're engaged. This is what it actually means to engage the viewer. It is to constantly have to put them in a situation where they have to think about what is going on. I have to watch every episode of this show under the premise that whatever is going on is going to be big at some point, which means I always have to pay attention and care, and I'm really excited when that's rewarded, and I get something interesting and funny and different. Again, I know I go back to it a lot, but in a lot of the older Yu-Gi-Ohs, their assumption is that your engagement just comes from the fact that you like watching a male power fantasy do male power fantasy shit. But that's not Sevens. Sevens is its own can of insanity. But so yeah, that is that. That is very clever, very interesting. But essentially what happens in this episode is the Goha presidents show up. They are, wait for it, 6 masked children from Goha Space Elementary. I've been thrown into the insanity to this show where when I heard the line Goha Space Elementary, I just laughed out loud. I'm like, of course there's a Goha Space Elementary. Why the fuck wouldn't there be? But so yeah, these are the presidents, and therefore common sense would dictate are antagonists for the arc. Or maybe that's not so simple. We'll talk about it. But yeah, so I think their introduction is pretty clever. First up, that opening joke of them just spraying water on all the people who wear weird costumes in this show. Because, like, they smell. That's one of those funny jokes you just never think they'll do, and then they just do it, and you just laugh out loud. But so then we see that Yuga has made a giant wind hovercraft thing. Why? Who the fuck cares? But so yeah, and so then Goha, the presidents, show up, and damn it, that's a good opening introduction for them. Like, just show them big. Like, Star Wars is a good example of just kind of like, how does the first scene go? See this little tiny spaceship trying to go from a big scary spaceship. A very simple way to show that Our bad guys are a very big deal. And that's what you have here. They just show up, turn the city upside down, consume all of Goha. Everyone at Goha just immediately is just like in servitude of these people. This is who they bow to. We've spent the entire show establishing Goha as these egotistical, just kind of morons just in it for their own gain, who have just kind of taken over the city for their own selfish stupidity. But just immediately the president show up and there's like, yes sir, yes ma'am, we do what you say. Like, that's kind of a fun way to kind of establish these villains. Like, there is something going on here and these guys need to be considered a threat. So then they do kind of what everyone's done up to this point. They're like, you guy, here are your parameters. You gotta beat us like all six of us in a duel, and your robot won't break. But again, it's just the fact that who thought that that was gonna be a plot point? Who thought that they were gonna put like weights on the robot and make it do aerobics till it falls apart? Who the fuck sees this coming? Who sees that in an ending theme and think, oh, that's the thing I need to pay attention to? But so yeah, no, that's kind of a thing, and a part of me just immediately is like, why don't you just say you're gonna blow it up? But turns out there might be more to that. So yeah, they're immediately like, you gotta beat us 6 times, and if you lose, you're a Goha employee. It's basically kind of what we've seen thus far. And then the first guy comes down, and the designs of these guys are okay. I think in terms of mouthless Yu-Gi-Oh villains, which is somewhat annoyingly a fairly common thing in Yu-Gi-Oh, I still think the Baryons are the scariest. I thought the AIs from Brains, the Ignises, did a good job with it. Will we see that be replicated here? Probably, but I think look-wise, they kind of just look like fairly standard anime baddies. They're not as unique as the other two to me, but they're fine. They're fine. But then, like, the guy comes down and he's like, we're gonna turbo rush duel, motherfucker. Turbo duels are back, or the writing duels. They're back. Why not? Let's bring them back again, because we brought them back for a whole season in Arc 5. This is the one they keep coming back to, which is kind of funny to me. I know they're the most popular because 5Ds is still huge, but, like, it always kind of fascinates me that this is the thing they go back to twice now. But so, yeah, they do the Turbo Duel, and I felt like his deck was supposed to be a homage to Yusei. And again, I partially think that because there's a Baseball Utopia, but what if they're all kind of homages to other decks? Because this guy, because, like, A, he's a Turbo Duelist, but also remember, in 5Ds, Yusei played machine-looking things that weren't always machines. Granted, he didn't really use birds, but his ace was a wind monster, and I kind of feel like maybe that's the point here, like kind of a neat little homage, and it would be cool if the other 6 are that, because you could make one of them an annoying emo asshole like Yusaku, and it'll be funny. Although, interestingly enough, when we saw the one that looked mysterious, I assumed that was Swirly, because, like, you know, we have fun with how cute Swirly is, but we know there's a 50-50 shot he's a bad guy. Like, my assumption was seeing the one who was kind of obscured is that it's that's Swirly or has some connection to Swirly, and maybe that could be like Yugi. He starts out weak and childish looking, and he's like, boom, scary guy. That's what I kind of thought that was going, but I don't think so, because then it looked like it was a Grandma Kaizo. It was another drone. So who knows where that's going. But so then, like, naturally, Yuga wins, and then things get interesting. Like, legitimately interesting. Not funny interesting, and not just, I want to see what happens to these characters. I am now genuinely curious what the plot is here. Because so then, they're like, okay, Oni-chan, you get a punishment. And the guy's like, well, what's my punishment? And they're all like, you're fired, bitch. And you're not allowed back for family picnics. Those are for winners. And only the Catholic members of the family. Go with the Protestants. I had a weird childhood. Anywho. So yeah, they're like, you're fired, and instead of them all just kind of following because they're just generic baddies, they're all kind of shocked. They're like, isn't that extreme? Just out of nowhere? Even the brother's like, didn't see that coming. And then he's like, stripped of his title, the drone's taken away, Mimi's like, that's not fair, the helmet's like, shut up, bitch. I'm saying bitch a lot. Anyways, so they take his title away, and he's like, hey, I get to be free now. And that alone is interesting. Like, obviously this guy's going to come back, and he'll probably be the one who ends up being a good guy. But I'm genuinely curious, where do these kids come from? What is their backstory? What is their philosophies in life? Like, if one of them just dropped it immediately for very valid reasons, what does that mean for the rest of them? I really want to know, and that is interesting. But that's not even the most interesting part, because then we get the main one, the kind of Shotokan-looking motherfucker, is walking, and the girl one is just like, wasn't that a bit harsh or something along those lines? He's like, hey, we got to deal with Yuga, and she's all like, well, you're the one who wanted to challenge Yuga and deal with the rush duels. He's like, we'll get rid of the rush duels, boy! And so then she's like, why do we come back to Earth exactly? I don't want to get hit by space debris. Well, where'd the space debris come from? Oh, it's just a satellite. I thought it was just a dumb joke. But then he goes into the room, and maybe it wasn't a dumb joke. Maybe something else is going on. We see the helmet's back, and it takes on a new form. And then we see a mysterious card. It's not like we've done that a billion fucking times in this franchise. And then it just kind of ends. And I want to know what happens. Also, that final joke that they just forgot Swirly and the other kids in costumes. That's really funny. Last thing touching on, I hope this isn't the new end credit bit with the guy who is doing the weird things. I don't know who that is, and I don't care enough to look it up. If you want to tell me, that's fine. I do read all the comments, even if I'm very bad about responding to them. But him kind of dancing was a little annoying. I mean, it's kind of cute. He showed you how to make your own duel disc, and I guess you can print out the plans for it. But, you know, just indoctrinating people into cosplay. That was cute. I hope it doesn't last that long, though. Also meant I couldn't hear the song. But so, yeah, and then the episode's over. And I want to know what happens. I want to see where this goes. Who are these kids? What's their plan? Where did the robot come from? There's all these fun questions, and I really want to know. I'm genuinely intrigued. I want to see where this plot is going. But do you? That's the question. Tell me about that below in the comments. As for the TCG question of the week. Now, I'm going to be the big man here. I'm going to do that thing many Yu-Gi tubers will not do. They will just, like, dance around admitting, but no. I'm here for you. I keep it real. I keep it 100 up in here. I apparently was wrong. So this past weekend was this thing down in Florida called TCG Con. Hopefully we get one up here. But it had a big Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, and I don't remember the number, but there was a lot of people at this competing, and they used the new format, even though it doesn't start till this coming Monday. But what was interesting was that the top 16 results, I don't remember who won. I don't even think anyone cares about who won. They're just looking at this top 16 result. Sky Striker had 3 tops. Weekend 1. Not even weekend 1. Weekend 0. Back in action. 3 tops. Who the fuck saw this coming right out the gate like that? And like, yeah, a lot of people posted lists immediately, but who the hell thought they would top like this? Also, Virtual World got 3 tops, and Salad got a top. And now some people are pointing out that you could always just say that, oh, well, you know, it's a new format. People want to test out the new shit. Maybe they weren't taking the tournament that seriously. But even if you factor those kinds of things in, 3 Striker with only 1 Engage and a couple still big hits on the list, that's kind of a big deal and something we got to worry about. So yeah, my question to you is, what do you think this says about the meta? Do you think Striker are tier 1? Do you think it's just luck? Or do you think that the format has also just slowed down enough that tier 2 decks are a lot stronger? My pick for number 1 was actually Drytron, and they got like 1 top. I didn't expect that. But yeah, no, tell me about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me because I want to know what happens next.